Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are excited to have you here as part of our PathLock Innovation Series. Our session right now is with Siemens Healthineers, Purchase to Pay Compliance Transformation of an Industry-Leading Automated P2P Compliance Framework to the Next Generation. Our presenter today is Harold Hildebrand. He's from Siemens Healthineers, and he'll introduce himself in just a moment.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Yes, hello together. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is. My name is Harold Hildebrand. I'm working for the Siemens Group since close to 20 years, and since 4 years, I'm leading the purchase to pay compliance and also the sub-compliance authorization and security for the Siemens Healthineers part. I will show you in a quick second what is Healthineers. How are we working together, or how are we fitting in the Siemens Group? And today I would like to give you an idea about our purchase to pay compliance framework and how and why we as Healthineers transform away from the Siemens world and transforming our industry leading automated P2P compliance framework to the next generation. So as said, I'm working in Siemens Healthineers since 4 years, leading there the sub-compliance authorization security. And in my old role, I was leading close to 6 years the purchase to pay compliance. So therefore, today I will show you, first of all, who we are, right? Siemens and Siemens Healthineers, and then give you the history of the P2P compliance in the Siemens Group. And this is quite important to understand what challenge huge organizations, huge corporations have, and why this is really crucial and important to have in place. And then I would like to show you today how we transforming now into our new Healthineers compliance framework, how Security Beaver, PathLock, and others are helping us there. And definitely give you also one example out of the real business where we are now using also transaction archive, giving you here a deep dive quick in a daily case, which is coming out. To give you an understanding what challenges you are facing. And then we have a quick wrap up, and there's enough time at the end for Q&A. So Siemens Healthineers, who we are. So the picture here you see is the Siemens Group. And in the Siemens Group, there are so-called 4 industrial businesses, and Healthineers is one official Siemens industrial business. So we are a majority owned part of Siemens. So we're an own stock listed company, right? And this is the first thing. Own stock listed company has a lot of legal requirements. There is no way around. You need to be compliant by law. This is a given thing. Yeah. And just to give you an idea, the Siemens Group currently has 325,000 plus employees. The Healthineers world is close to 70,000. And besides digital industries, smart infrastructure, and mobility, Siemens Healthineers is one of the Siemens businesses. On the other side, you can see there are other businesses like the portfolio companies, there's the Advanta part, and there is the service organization in Siemens. But Healthineers is this part here you can see with the orange frame around. Currently, we are around about 75% stock owned by Siemens, and the rest is out there on the stock market. What are we doing? Yeah, Siemens Healthineers is the market leader in quite a lot we do. We are one of the industry leading medical device companies. We will see this producing medical machines, medical devices for precision therapy and others. Yeah, and if you look in the middle here, you can see the patient is in the middle. That's the next challenge. You're producing medical device products used on a patient. There's no way around. You need to be compliant. Otherwise, you will end up in a total disaster. But our machines are not the only thing we do, right? In the precision therapy, for sure, helps the patient, but it is and must be supported today by digital data and AI. And in the end, we are working as a company towards the so-called digital patient twinning. Siemens is using that for a lot of industry products, the digital twin. And we're also working on that to have the digital patient one day. And together in this triangle, we're always focusing on the patient in the middle. And having said that, round about 70,000 employees working in the Healthineers part. That means it is a huge organization. And this is also a challenge for the compliance, right? Because 70,000 people are working and can do a lot of topics. We are in over 70 countries with direct presence, and we are doing business with much more countries, right? So therefore also the sheer size of the company is today and is a challenge, right? Furthermore, you can see the business revenue and the figures there. So we have close to $22 billion revenue. Then you can imagine how many transactions you have behind there in accounting, in supply chain, in wherever. So this is also a huge challenge as an organization. Around about 15,000 granted patents, 23,000 technical IPRs. And on the other side, yeah, we are working together with over 90% of all the leading hospitals in the world. Where I am personally very proud of is the case that over 42% of our total revenue, you can see on the left side, it was not even existing 3 years ago. That was completely created by us within the last 3 years. So therefore, it's a clear sign that we are investing the money in R&D on the right products. And over 70% of all clinical decisions is a Siemens product involved. So therefore, if you don't have compliance products here, you're gone. There's no way around. It must work. 84 products already offering AI support, and we do have over 700,000 installed bases out there in the field. So massive number. So therefore, all of that framework for us is definitely a challenge in compliance on an everyday basis. Quick look on the products that you get an idea what we do. So we have the unique position that we are in the middle of what we call the center of the clinics decision making. We do have, again, 4 main business lines. One is the so-called imaging part, where all the diagnostic imaging parts are in. For example, we do have here our CT scanners, the MR scanners, the X-ray products, the ultrasound systems, all of that. This is a huge area. Then we have advanced therapies, everything you're using aside the treatment, right? Everything helps the patient during the treatment phase. And then we have the diagnostics area, where we do have the laboratory diagnostics, but also the point of care, meaning everything which is blood test related, the diabetes tests, the COVID tests, right? Not so far ago, we had them as well, and a lot of more topics, plus very new, the variant part, which is our oncologics, right? So maybe you heard it, Siemens Healthineers acquired 2 years ago the Varian Corporation in US. Overnight, we received 11,000 colleagues, right? It was a $16 billion purchase, and that's another challenge. Permanent moving system landscapes, purchases, right? M&A acquisitions here. This is also a challenge for the compliance in the end. And having said that, some of you maybe remember that Siemens has not always been the white knight in regards to compliance. But yeah, we learned our session, and I would quickly like to introduce you where we came from, because this is very important to understand and also to see the challenges we had and where we are today. So in 27-28, unfortunately, our company was implicated in one of Germany's biggest corruption and payoff affairs ever occurred. And this was at this time a huge problem, because Siemens was listed on the New York Stock Exchange as well. The total turnover at this time was, or the earnings, the net earnings, right, was around about $2.5–3 billion. And only the American SEC came up with potential fees up to $10 billion. That means 4 years, no revenue because of compliance issues. That could flip a company at this time, right? I don't want to imagine how many you have to pay today, because 10 years, 15 years later, I believe the fees are much higher. But nevertheless, it was for us a business company critical item at this time, right? Nevertheless, we definitely learned our topics, and we came out to say, first of all, we will definitely clean everything up. And we did, but nevertheless, we had still costs for all the clarification and cleanups, including all the tax payments, the fees, the fines, the lawyers, the consultants, IT costs, from, I would say, 2 billion plus. So it was quite heavy, yeah, but in the end it was worth it. The bigger problem was even the not monetarily measurably loss of image, right? Because who would like to buy products from such a company in the press? And as you saw on the introduction slide, Siemens is an infrastructure providing company. Who is buying CT scanners? Mainly hospitals. Who are they operated by? Mainly the state, the cities, the government, right? The same is valid at this time for power plants, for trains, for switchgear electronics. So this was really a problem. And also the partial exclusion from public tenders in that area, right? So therefore for us, this was a huge problem in the enterprise risk management. You could not even plan the complete issue because it was just not plannable. And to give an idea, the last country which removed the exclusion from the public tenders was Brazil in 2014. That means you did not do any business in 7 years in that country. And we said this must never happen again. And our board really did a great job, also together with all the people, to say, first of all, we need a new sustainable compliance approach in the company, which is really valid for every entity. Doesn't matter where and who and how, it is valid for everybody in the company. And it has a very simple, three-colored approach. It says prevent what's possible, detect in the end what's there, and respond adequately. Because every law, every tax law, every stock law, everybody says you need to have in place a proper prevention. But it also says at one stage it's ending in prevention, because if there's too much criminal energy behind the scenes, you could not prevent everything. And this is very important to understand, that you can't prevent everything, but you need to have detection measures in place to find it, and find it in I would say in timely manner, and then you have to respond with zero tolerance. And we did. And I was also very proud at this time, because our board was one of the first parties fully understood that a company with, at this time, Siemens was $100 billion revenue, 425,000 employees. Without an adequate IT system, it's nearly impossible to have checks in place to find all of that, because there is just too much transactions, too much systems, too much employees. So you really need an IT-based compliance service, which we are calling the purchase to pay compliance, because it's more or less affecting the purchase to the pay process in total. And then we in IT thought ourselves how to do that. And we said, why not sticking to this three-column approach, right? We say, first of all, care about the preventive part. And what do you need to care about in the first line is definitely the systems, right? So all of our Siemens subsystems worldwide receive the so-called preventative application controls. These are 22 mandatory controls which are running on all the systems and protecting them against wanted errors or intentional fraud. These are other programs running one by one, and then identifying system settings and other topics. If the system is fine, then you need to care about the employee in the next stage. And here is where security via pass law comes in. We as a company decided to move to separation force at this time, and we created a rule set consisting 40 mandatory preventive controls. Everything is running on all the systems, securing them against, as well, proper functions and responsibilities are in place against misusage of authorizations, and they are always ensuring a so-called 4Is principle. And also, we also go with emergency repair as the next stage to say we need a transparent emergency user handling, meaning the normal users, the normal operations are done by checking roles, authorizations, but also the emergency user sessions, which are also very critical, are also proper tracked, and proper cared and proper reviewed in the end. And all of that together, we are calling the first line of defense, meaning if systems are safe, and employees have the right authorizations assigned, the correct roles assigned, nothing should come up. What we do is we are double checking this on a daily basis, meaning the stuff is running out there in the world on the systems, and there's a daily extract of the results and send to a corporate dashboard where we double checking how is the status on the systems. The question is now, is that enough? And I can tell you, unfortunately, it isn't, because people are moving through the organization, roles are changed, authorizations are changed, technology is changing, new objects coming in, SAP is changing, products and so on. And with all of that, it is only a first line of defense, but you also need to double check the transactions created by the users on the system. And this is what we are doing with an own developed solution, which is called continuous controls monitoring, where we do have 14 controls, which are also automatically running, but not on the decentralized systems. They are currently running on a centralized instance, meaning we are extracting raw data out of the systems on a daily basis and performing the checks on the local site and the local IT area in Munich. And the outcome, the so-called alerts, are also then shown in various dashboards for remediations. And this is what we call the second line of defense in the end, covering everything from system over employee towards the transactions. And one topic to remark here is, in the preventive part, we always talk about violations. A system is configured right or not. Roles are sufficient or not, right? There is no gray zone. It's black and white, very simple. But on the CCM side, you do have so-called alerts, which means there is something suspicious you need to double check. Because if you're, for example, ordering CPUs, RAM, hard drives, right, which have daily prices, and then out of the nowhere a COVID crisis comes, then it could be that the delivery has 3 times the price as the initial order was. That's not a fraud case. You need to double check it and accept it, right? And that's the big difference between the preventive part and the detective part. How does that technically look like? I try to explain it to you. So we're starting out there in the field. We do have in Helsingers currently 5 systems which are relevant, huge SAP systems. The Siemens AG currently has over 60, maybe less in future, but currently it's over 60, with most of them running on HANA databases, but also some old Oracle databases are around. And all of these systems have security VFA passlog products in place, separation enforcer, emergency repair. They all have the PAC controls in place, and they all have an own developed extractor in place for getting the raw data out for continuous controls monitoring. As a next steps, we also have a solution in place for the non-SAP systems, because we do have still Oracle products, Oracle systems in the company, PeopleSoft and others, and there also we can do SOD. The next challenge you have in compliance is the more and more split of processes across the systems, because there is now a clear trend to decentralization again. And we also have this with supply chain systems used for SRM systems, used for indirect material purchasing, and for sure also MDG systems for master data governance. And that means out of the sudden, you need to cover SODs across the systems, meaning there's somebody which is creating a vendor, Harry Hildebrand's nice company, then the next guy, the same guy goes into the SRM system, orders 5 laptops, which will never be delivered, and then the ERP system, you're doing the invoice approval. So you will never find that, right? So therefore, it's important to check this across the systems, and this is what we do with security VFA separation enforcer. And then every day we are extracting out the data of the systems, including the SOD and PAC results, forwarding all of this data to Munich, to a huge processing landscape, where we are consolidating the SOD and PAC results, and where we start the processing of the continuous controls monitoring. And one topic to mention for the SOD area. So you have multiple entities running on multiple systems, and one system can also have multiple entities within. So therefore you have an end-to-end connection, which you need to solve in the reporting, because an entity can run on several systems in the end. And this is all done here in the central site. And then the results are copied to a different database landscape. And then there is our reporting and remediation landscape behind the scenes, where we have round about 300, 400 CFOs and 3,500 users working on a daily basis with our front ends for getting an idea about where we are in compliance, and also care about the alerts and the SOD conflicts and the PAC conflicts. So this is where we are today. And now the crucial question is why we in Helsingers are changing that and how we are changing that. This is very clear and easy to answer because this framework is not fitting anymore for the medical device part, for the Helsingers part. Because we do have requirements which are just not possible to solve with the old setup, and we also would like to use more and more standard software, and this is what we're doing now. So in Helsingers, a Siemens business, we decided first of all keeping the three-layered approach, caring about the systems, the parameters, the settings, going ahead, caring about the employees, meaning check out their roles, their authorizations, and then in the end, care about the business transactions. But also, we said, this is today an approach which is quite slow. We need to have much more real-time near topics in here, and this is what we do. So first of all, we said, staying within the standard world more, we don't want to have own developed ABAP programs somewhere which are running and do something. We would like to use a standard software that we decided as Helsingers that our security buffer process auditor, which is now part of the passlog world, will be our new hub in future. So everything in compliance and much more will be handled via the PA instance. That's one thing. And instead of having own developed ABAP programs, we will now use the process auditor in future with a rule set, which is executing the PAC controls on a daily basis. And then we create an alert in here once a day, a case for all the systems, seeing the complete results where we are in the PAC. These data we are sending then to the Siemens corporate reporting as today, but also we do have an own Helsingers reporting in place. And if one day the decision will come not sending any data anymore to the corporate reporting, we just need to cut this data transfer, and then that's it. That means we are fully autark, first time ever, and can operate this world. On the employee side, regarding roles and authorizations, we stick to separation enforcer, we stick to emergency repair, but the difference that also the SOD result will now trigger process auditor alerts. And in the same way as for PAC, we will also show the complete result on a daily basis as an alert in the PA tool for audit purposes, right? And now one thing comes into place I'm very proud of, and I have to say this thing is really gold for us, saved us a lot of trouble in the last years in the audit area, is Transaction Archive. So Transaction Archive is a module we are using, which is running behind the scenes to an extended logging of user actions and system behaving. And with TA, we implemented ad hoc alerting, meaning in the moment somebody opens the client, in the moment somebody is downloading masses of things, in the moment somebody is doing something, we are defining the TA is immediately alerting us, right? We do get an email of this critical action, right? Client was opened, or I don't know, bank accounts have been changed or whatever. And you don't get it tomorrow, you get it now within a few minutes, right? And then you have also the result now in process auditor as a case. And then somebody needs to check this case and see, okay, what was happening? Is this an action which was requested? Is there a ticket available, and is it proper in the process or not, right? And then the TA really on Helsingers side, and this is only working for Helsingers currently, we do have this more real-time ad hoc reporting incorporated into our compliance world. And last but not least, we are caring about the business transactions. Helsingers developed a way that we created own controls, own continuous controls running on the subsystems, decentralized, checking about risk and internal controls. So for example, we did more or less a 90% one-click audit approach. All of the ITGC topics, which are checked by Pricewaterhouse, EY, you name them, is more or less automatically executable in our systems immediately. And in a few minutes, you have, I would say, a 90% overview about the audit results of a system. Then we do have further controls for compliance topics, for risk topics, and other areas. And this is what we are using PA already today. And now what we are currently implementing is for sure easy, also the same thing for the continuous controls on the purchase to pay compliance. Meaning instead of using this massive Siemens infrastructure in Munich where we have to send raw data in and then it will be operated there, and then you have always a daily 1 day in between to get the results, something like that. We don't want this anymore, right? We said PAs, for us, the hub, PAs working sufficient for all the other areas. Why not incorporating also our purchase to pay CCM controls there? And this is what we currently do. So we already did 8 out of the 13 controls, and by end of the fiscal year, we are fully autark. And then we will run our own CCMs in the local systems and also feeding the results still in the Siemens reporting. There's no change for the user. But the big difference is you have everything on your own, standalone. And also, first time ever, you have purchase to pay compliance combined with future real-time near actions, plus audit actions and risk and internal controls and other compliance checks, everything in one place. You don't have any spread tools anymore. Everything is within PA, and people can dial into the PA world and they see everything they are responsible for. And this was our main goal. Why we are doing that, why we are moving ahead. First of all, being much more flexible. Instead of having controls built on a central instance where I need a change request, where it takes a few days, a month to get a change, I can do it now for my Helsingers business on my own. Meaning I'm an own stock listed company. I can operate the solution on my own, and I can create very quickly new controls if necessary. For example, a topic we received highly positive feedback is the option of threshold simulation. So, for example, certain people have now the option to play around with thresholds, and that gives you the idea of a risk-based approach. So if I see, hey, I get a control which is causing every day 20 alerts. If I set my threshold $5 up, I only have 1 left over. The question is, how many risks do I have in $5, right? So this is really where the owners of the processes now can think about to say, yep, let's check everything again and adjust it for my Helsingers business, which is completely different because you have big customers which are having a $25 maintenance fee for a mobile ultrasound system. On the other side, you are selling a multi-million-dollar cancer treatment machine. And now we have the option first time really to build controls in that areas where we need them with more speed, fast, and we can adapt now to our needs very much quicker. And bringing in the proactiveness by transaction archives is a real game changer, right? Instead of trusting the prevention part and hopefully you detecting it afterwards if something happened, you also have now a third measure in the middle to say, yep, there's also immediate action happens if something really crucial is caused in the systems. And all of that, as said, gives the user a better user experience, because with our centralized PA web front end, we have now not only the purchase to pay compliance, but also audit, risk and internal controls, and much more controls on one place. Also next topic is, it is in the SAP world. This is very important. You don't have data copied around. Everything stays in the local system. This is from a data perspective, quite a game changer. Also, if you're thinking about GDPR, transforming and sending data around the globe is always a problem. And really first time where we can say, hey, dear user, doesn't matter if it's a compliance alert, an audit topic, an audit alert, if it's risk internal controls or something else, you go to PA, and if you are the responsible colleague for this case, you will get it in there. That's your new framework to work with, and you don't need to dial in 4 different tools in the worst case. And the next thing is you are in the SAP world, meaning clicking on a document number is immediately linking you down to the document in the SAP. So you don't need to dial into SAP on the one side, having a reporting system on the other side. It's totally combined. And through the case that you don't need this huge central IT landscape anymore for the processing, you're also saving money, right? This is clear because all the modules we're using running on the local subsystem side, the systems are anywhere there, and operations and I would say storage and CPU time in the cloud world or wherever is not the big deal anymore today. So therefore, you can get rid of huge central processing landscapes, saving a lot of money, and staying within the path log security with a framework of using standard software. I don't care anymore if a release is changing because that's a supplier's topic, right? To care about this software piece is running on S4 version 21.09, whatever, right? I need to check if my rule sets are still working the correct way, for sure, but I don't need to care about everything around. And this is also for us a huge game changer because we do have a wide system landscape in Helsingborg on completely different levels of releases. And now with PA in the middle, it's working everywhere. And as said, based on not copying the data from one side to the other anymore, you're also saving a lot of net load and also for sure a lot of storage in the end. One example I would like to give you to have a catchable item from the day-to-day compliance operations. So as I said, we are also implemented transaction archive, which is running behind the scenes. And we are using this in Helsingborg for all the compliance and risk internal control based topics. We are using this for audit purposes, for authorization cleanups, and also for security in projects. And today I would like to give you a quick example how such a tool out of nowhere can help you, right? Because we had topics in security in projects. So a few years ago, we had, unfortunately, a really crisis in one of our sub projects. We established and created a new warehouse system. And for solving that situation, we had to bring in a new supplier and its staff members very quickly. And as you can imagine, in a huge corporation, onboarding procedures can take a few days, and there was no time to lose because it was really revenue relevant. So what did we do? We defined and agreed with the supplier, hey, until the onboarding is done, you can work with functional user accounts, but you need to be aware that you don't do account sharing because it's based on username and password. What they didn't know that behind the scenes there was transaction archive running. And after a few hours of the usage, we received automatic information from TA that accounts are shared. And we thought ourselves, how does that happen? And there is, for example, a terminal ID check done by TA, which showed us clearly that the user is working in the morning from a Siemens facility in US, but also the same account is used in the evening by out of India because on the IP address, right? So therefore, with that information, we could immediately log minutes after the detection. Here we could log the accounts, kick out the users, and having only prevention, you can see it wasn't completely sufficient. Detection would have taken at least one more day in continuous controls, but having our real-time based here in the middle, it was done in 10 minutes, right? So therefore, a nice feature we implemented. So therefore, we combined everything out of the best worlds, preventive detection, and also now real-time near detection. And this is what I would like to give you on the way. Compliance is crucial for a company success. If you don't be compliant, especially, it doesn't matter which what you're doing in which area your company is placed. If you're not compliant today, you will definitely lose your gun, right? So this is a huge topic. So therefore, you need to be compliant. There's no question. And also without adequate IT tools, it's very hard to handle the compliance in complex environments, especially in large organizations, in larger corporations. There's a huge IT landscape spread around the globe, different systems in place. It's hard without adequate IT. Siemens had issues there, but they learned out of the issues and really developed an industry-leading compliance framework, highly automated. But as said, it's not fitting for every of the business anymore, and also especially not anymore for us in Helsingers. So therefore, it must be transformed to the latest stage. And this is what we're doing it now. We're bringing in now much proactiveness, right? Creating a new framework which allows us to adapt fast for our business. And without making now some advertisement, we are using Security Beaver since the very beginning, because for us it was a product it's easy to use. It's really topic focused, and Pathlog now as the mothership for Security Beaver is a partner we are using since quite a long time, right? We're using Separation Enforcer and the ER tools since the very beginning, but also we enhanced it by the innovative products you just saw with TA and PA. And in together, we are building now our new framework of choice. And to be clear, you have to have such topics in place on the local side in your processes, especially Separation Enforcer, for example, as an SOD tool. You can't do, or you should not do SOD measurements 2 days later. You need to do it whenever a system or a person on the system needs to do it, right? For example, a developer is creating new roles. He needs to do checks during the creation process already, if the role is still compliant or not. He needs to do simulation and others. So that's the reason why we decided to use these things really in the processes out there. And only that, nothing else. SOD checks SOD. Emergency user handling checks emergency users, right, and handles that. And TA checks loggings, and PA does the continuous controls. So easy to use topics for us, right? And therefore we decided as Helsingers to stay with the Security Beaver suite and enhance it. And together with these 4 products, we are able to build our new framework of choice. And as that, TA for us is a really essential tool for advanced monitoring logging. Gives us the option to be more flexible and also be much more proactive if some crucial activities happens. So this is our plan. This is where we are. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for your participation. And if there are any questions, happy to answer them at any time. And having said that, I would like to hand over back to Stephanie.
Thank you, Harold, for that presentation. And if you do have any questions, please add them now into the question box and we would be happy to answer those. And with that, I'm just looking to see if we have any questions. Our first question is, from a privacy perspective, was the company okay using TA? Sorry,
Yeah, yes, it was. What you need to do for sure, you as a German-based company, we had a discussion with our workers' council, and they allowed us really to use the tool for a dedicated purpose, meaning there is an agreement behind the scenes in place where we clearly made it obvious to say TA gives us the option to help our employees, right, to argument that they are not guilty in cases, right? That was the story behind, and we are allowed to using it for audit topics, right? Because audit always comes in and would like to need some information. It helps us in the compliance world, and it helps us in security. And for that 3 or 4 purposes, we are allowed to use it for sure. It's always highly critical in a way of measuring performance. This is for sure forbidden. In Germany at least, and so therefore an agreement in place, and then it was okay from the workers' council perspective, yes, and also from the data privacy perspective for sure.
perfect. Okay, I think that's all the questions we have for today. If you do have any more questions, please reach out to us at info@pathlock.com, or you can reach out to us at events@pathlock.com. We would be happy to answer any of your questions that you have. And with that, we do have some more sessions coming up today. If you would like to register, I put a link in the chat for the link to all of the rest of the sessions. So go ahead and look at those and register for any of the other ones that you find of interest. And thank you so much for coming, and thank you, Harold, for your presentation, and we'll see you next time.